Awesome. So basically, like we actually said in the updates last night, I'll start with GU. Like it was said, we were either going to react off this small supply or this supply up here, and basically just keep pushing down, which is actually what happened. We were looking for an entry around here. I was hoping we were going to push up and do this like that. Um, but unfortunately, that's what the market wanted to do, just taking out sellers and buyers and basically building its own liquidity down. So the problem is when you're in a big range like this, it's going to build its own liquidity the entire way down to move itself down. Otherwise, it'll just do this and be very, very slow. So you get these fast impulses when it takes liquidity just to move quickly. Like that is literally what it's doing. It's generating its own liquidity. So if you do get in trades in these types of ranges, don't try and hold them 1 to 10, 1 to 20. Like they're not going to be swing positions. It'll be like this one, which was a 1 to 7, or the EU one, which I took, which is like went 1 to 3 or something. You would hold to that. So for today, I'm going to delete that because I'm not interested there anymore. For me, this entire area basically here, I'm not interested in buying in just because there wasn't a lot of liquidity taken there. We've got previous Asian lows as well sitting in there. And there's not really any points that are important to me. I don't think anyway. So when we have price action like this that doesn't actually take liquidity, um, I basically would just want to see that all destroyed. So I would expect that we will keep selling to induce all this, and by the time we open anyway, which is in half an hour, you might even find that's already gone. Like we're moving pretty close to that now, which is perfect. So this is exactly what I expected to happen, which is why I wasn't looking for buyers basically at all from like this point down didn't make a lot of sense. So coming into that, we've got a couple of points that I'm interested in looking at. This 15-minute points is definitely the weakest out of all of them. I don't think it'll hold. I've just got it marked out just because I will watch what inducement we get on London Open. And also I will be going live on London for these continuation trades in the future. So when I take these or see something happen, I will be jumping in live. So you'll be able to see them from now rather than me just sending them out. So this point here isn't the greatest. It only broke this high. Ideally, what we want to see happen is price push up at the start of London session and induce all of this come New York session. We have got news again tonight, which is I'm not surprised with this week. So we may find that price pushes down here and news pushes it up. But these points here are quite nice. The reason I've marked out both is you've actually got this half an hour point here, which has a good imbalance below it and not a point below, sorry, above it and not a point below it. So I actually kind of like this point. Um, you would cover the lows, obviously, like we do, but there's not a lot deep in there. No, I haven't done them yet, Alistair. I'll run through them in a minute. It's just me today. Dylan's not well. So as you can see, most of this price is filled. So I just don't expect this to be gone. The only reason it'll take this price is that's the retest of that internal break. But it didn't really internally break anything. It kind of just gave a two leg, which means this entire area is up for buying on a smaller scale. So we've got this 15-minute point here, this 15-minute point here. You can mark out the entire area and basically just have that. I'm just looking for an entry confirmation. Come, London Open around these areas, and I'm cool to look at getting an entry. So quite simple. Keep in mind that we are bullish, but we have also taken a lot of liquidity. So on the 4 hour, we took all of these highs here and racked it out of the extreme supply. So price may now, this may be enough for price to push underneath here, take all of this, maybe even react out of here and then push back up again. So that's where we could be heading. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, we wait for lower time frame confirmations anyway, but they're the areas I'll be looking at down here. Looking to sell into that isn't a bad idea, but realistically, you want price to push up, take the Asian high, and possibly react out of a point out of here. Selling in between here will be risky. You've got, if we just jump down the 5 minute, and what I would actually look at as a continuation aspect is you've got this liquidity here. So for me, this would keep me out just because that itself isn't a good point. This didn't take liquidity, so you've got equal highs here. This didn't do anything either. I mean, this did take liquidity here. So if you get an entry confirmation out the top of this range, it's not a bad idea. But then you've got this entire area here that actually took liquidity too, which looks quite nicer. So if price is going to push up, I imagine it's going to push up quite high. Like I said, if I see anything, I'll go live on London. We may be able to buy up into that depending on what happens. and the lower time frame confirmations. But ideally, we just keep melting, induce into these points, and then we can look to buy, giving our normal A plus entry. I'll go to EU next because EU is actually in a good spot. Basically, EU, we had this big push up, internal break, didn't react out of anything, just went mid range in this imbalance. We are bearish, understanding that this can continue to push down, this break of structure here, but taking this liquidity could just be like an inducement to push up, and this looks like an inducement to push up, to push back down. So EU, two options basically. I'm happy to buy it at the point it's in now. Just looking for that minor inducement. For me, this is a very, very borderline minor inducement. I will watch on London Open to see what this does because this is a very, very borderline minor inducement. Not great structure, but it technically broke internal structure. So it's definitely one we can look at here on London Open. But the scenario I like the best, which may or may not happen, is just sweeping out this liquidity here. The only reason that may not happen is this point here was kind of the smart money trap that was built up, this trap that created this range, and that's already been smoked. So in the meantime of smoking that, we've induced all of this liquidity pushed down into this point. So not only have we grabbed a lot of liquidity, we're in an extreme. Price didn't react off of anything, so it's a really, really high probable point for price to react off of, or at least give a retracement. To ideally, I would say, take the Asian highs is where my first target would be. So definitely one to watch. It's actually in a better spot than GU at the moment. So nice and simple there. As for AU, we've pushed down into this 15-minute point. The reason I don't like this 15-minute point is firstly, we reacted out of this point here, which is a perfect continuation high time frame entry. You had price pull up, create liquidity, push back down, then push up and take that liquidity and continue. So the point that it's reacting from is an extreme supply, which means this point will hold a lot more than this point. This point also, just like on the opposite of EU, this point didn't create any internal structure. So this point is more than likely going to get blown through. And you'll see that inducement. We've got equal lows here as well, which kind of invalidates us setting a limit at this point if it was a lower time frame point. So you can't, I don't like AU where it's positioned. I need AU to at least push through these lows, at least as a minimum. That gives us our medium inducement. Then we can look for an entry out of this point, which is quite nice in terms of mitigation, break of structure, mitigation, break of structure, mitigation, break of structure, no mitigation, build up of liquidity. So you can also think of this as like a huge continuation. You've got the mitigation, push out, which created internal structure to push, which broke that high, haven't taken this. So it's like a higher time frame continuation again. So if price decides to go bullish, more than happy to look once we sweep that. But I'll actually mark out the exact point I'm looking at, just this point in the bottom here. I imagine the 10-minute point is a little bit cleaner. Oh, they're about the same, which is nice. That 30-minute point's actually the best out of all of them. Quite nice there. Okay. Also understanding with AU that if that doesn't happen and that's not the case, the prime area for us to buy is this extreme down here. Reason being is the liquidity cycle will be met, the structure cycle will be met coming into that extreme, which will be a great place to buy. More than likely New York, because technically you get that at that 15-minute demand push through. So you get that external inducement of a range, and you also get a mitigation of a larger range, which would be our hourly or our larger 15-minute range. I'd actually have that as the hourly. So they're basically the options there. AU's in the worst spot out of all of them. EU, I will keep an eye on as we can see, we're already pushing through here. So once we take this liquidity, we can look for a buy. You probably find GU now has pushed down as well. So EU and GU are in great spots to buy. We've been met for them. So basically, we'll walk through that now just quickly. How the structure cycle and liquidity cycle works. You've got basically this is my low, this is my high. The next thing you do in the liquidity cycle, structure cycle is work out all your internal liquidity, internal points, internal point, internal point, internal point. This is my extreme demand. That's my extreme supply. For the liquidity cycle to be met, it pushes through, creates that internal structure like it has, and then comes down, which entices the market to sell. But also, we know we are still bullish. It's coming to the very, very extreme of our range and taking out that internal liquidity. So they're the things that are met. If you look at the dot points that I sent in the group that I can find again, basically that rundown of the liquidity and structure cycle is how it's met. So It's a full-on concept. It doesn't have to come to the extreme, no. It just needs to take out internal structure. Okay. Ideally, if we want to meet it to 100% accuracy, we come to extreme. Reason being high probable area. For price here, you've got to understand institutions to push this up. Okay. So institutions have taken the most amount of power to push price from here to here. They are out of drawdown the most here. That is why the extremes are so important. So they magnetize price really, really heavily. Institutions want to get back to them to fill in their prices. Okay. In the meantime, we're also taking out structural liquidity. We're enticing the opposite end of the market. We're creating retail liquidity, and so on and so forth. So we're not only the institutions filling up and doing what they need to do, the opposite end of the market are getting in from a retail point, and we're taking enough liquidity to then move the market once those institutions are refilled and ready to go. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I can draw diagrams. Of course, you've got that course coming soon, but I'll draw some diagrams if you guys need. But make sure you go and look at those dot points I send in the chat. I might even pin it so you guys can see it. Awesome, awesome. Just something to have in the back of your mind. Okay, that's why the first thing we do is we work out our external range, what our internal range is, understanding where price is actually heading. Just because we're bearish today does not mean we're not bullish in the momentum of the overall market. Just like GU coming all the way down here would be perfect, because then the institutions are reaching their extreme before we push up again. Okie dokie. Any other questions? I'm more than likely, with what's happening, we'll go live just from what price has done, taking liquidity, and we're in a good spot to start looking for an entry. So both of these could happen at the same time. I'll probably jump on 10 minutes before the markets open up and have a look. What's an SMT? Yeah, you need to get blocked. Awesome. Oh, thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. Awesome. Any other questions before we get into it? I'll be able to upload this one quicker because obviously I recorded this one and I can just upload it straight away. So that'll be up for people who may not have seen the whole breakdown of what we're looking for. Awesome as. Sweet. No worries at all. No worries at all. All right. I'll see you guys more than likely on the live. I'll let you guys know what I'm looking for. Price is already raking off this first point, but I'll keep you updated with what I see. Yeah, awesome, Callum. I'll chuck that up basically straight away. The moment this thing's ready to go, it'll be up for you. Awesome. All right, let's have a good session. Make sure we've got that news tonight. Let's not trade too close to news, and then let's have a good day. All righty, I'll chat to you guys soon.